This man was very wealthy, but he ended up with nothing, not even clothes, because of his wife from Africa. Yes, you heard that right. He used to have a well-paying job in his country, earning over $3,000 a month, and he lived in a nice house with a luxurious lifestyle. However, after marrying a woman from Kenya, he lost everything and left without even his clothes.
После этого 3 года медицинские...
I used to work as a children's doctor in Russia, making between $3,000 and $4,500 every month. But look what my wife did to me. A man who used to be a very rich person is living here in this very dirty house, has no food and even no clothes. His food at home is raw tomatoes, onions and garlic. To survive, he tries to work on construction sites, but he's even too weak to push a wheelbarrow. We wonder what his wife did to make him like this. He used to live in Russia with everything, so how did he become so poor in Africa? I met him in Kenya, and he answered all these questions, but proved to me that life is really unpredictable. Let's take a sit and hear his sad story.
Чернявский Александр.
My name is Alexander. I was born in Russia and went to primary and secondary school. After that, I went to university to study medicine and specialized in pediatric massage. This was great for me because I earned a lot of money. He was a dedicated worker at his job, where he worked for over 23 years. Staying in the same job for that long shows that he was a professional. Once he started earning enough money, he worked towards improving his life. He bought houses, cars and other properties and made other important life decisions.
Я зарабатывал приличные деньги.
My life was going really well and I had everything a guy could want. I was very happy, but I felt like something was missing until I met my first wife, who was Russian. We got married, had a great time together, and really loved each other without any problems. However, as it often happens, things can change. Eventually, my wife and I began to have issues, which led to our divorce. After that, she moved on with her life. I focused on getting back to normal and continued working. I still held a good position at my job. His life was somewhat chaotic because the separation from his family affected him, but it didn't hold him back much. He still lived comfortably because his job was steady and didn't cause him stress. To avoid feeling stressed or depressed, he began doing things that could make him happy. This helped him keep going and stay joyful, which is important because life often be hard when you're dealing with divorce.
Продал все мое имущество.
I didn't let the situation hold me back. I traveled to different countries and took vacations to explore new places. I visited many countries in Europe and Asia, like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. Traveling really brought me peace whenever I took a break from work. I was especially curious about Africa because I had never been there. The first time I went to Africa, I chose Kenya because I had Russian friends living there. This made it easier for me to settle in and find company. When he first visited Kenya, he fell in love with the country. He enjoyed meeting his fellow Russians, but he was also impressed by the friendly locals and the many interesting places to visit. Because of this, he didn't just visit once, he kept returning many times under various circumstances. And this is where he met someone who would negatively change his life.
Потому что у меня моя жена.
In Kenya, I was very happy because I found the people there to be very kind. One day, while on vacation, my friends and I went to a beach called Pirates. We were all in a good mood and my friends brought along some girls who they said were their friends. I wasn't planning to get involved with anyone, but then I met a girl there. It was the first time I saw her, and I fell in love right away. The reason I fell for her so much was unique. At that place, many girls were there as prostitutes, but when one of my friends showed interest in her and she turned him down, I realized she was different. That's when I decided to get to know her better. He began to get closer to this girl, and they started out as friends. Their friendship wasn't strong at first, but as time went on, it grew stronger. There were challenges though, because the guy didn't have much free time. Despite often being far apart from each other, these challenges didn't stop their love from growing. Eventually, their relationship led to them getting married.
Потому что африканцы...
As time went on, I realized she could be a good partner. Seeing this, I quickly expressed my desire to her. I asked her to marry me and live together in Moscow, where I resided because I couldn't leave my job to live in Kenya. She didn't question my proposal. She accepted everything openly. After that, they had a beautiful and happy wedding because their love was strong. The man returned to Russia to gather all the necessary documents, and then the woman joined him there. Together, they started a new life in Russia, always staying close to each other.
Не на то, чтобы этот большой грузовик...
Since everything took place in Kenya, I quickly went back to Russia to wait for her. She joined me soon after, and we were very happy together and even had our first child. She didn't have a job and stayed home to take care of our child, which was challenging because she didn't speak Russian. We lived together for 2.5 years, but then she started changing. She became so bad and often said she wanted to return to Kenya. This upset me a lot because I couldn't understand why she was acting this way when I was trying to provide everything she needed. Her behavior grew worse over time, leading to arguments and conflicts that escalated into physical fights. This troubled period resulted in too many fights between us. They kept having many problems, but as a husband, he decided to work on solving these issues to show his wife that he loved her. He couldn't bear the thought of letting his wife and child be on their own because he loved them deeply. He believed that by addressing their problems, they could restore peace and happiness in their relationship.
Когда я приходил с работы...
My wife upset me so much that I ended up selling everything I owned, quitting my job and moving to Kenya. My love for her and our child was so strong that they felt like an essential part of my life, and I felt I needed to do whatever it took to keep us together. We sold all our possessions and moved to Kenya. The money we got from selling everything was so substantial that we didn't have to worry about financial problems. This big move was all about maintaining our family and starting anew in a place where we could be together. When they moved back to Kenya, they tried to start their relationship anew. However, as time passed, it became clear that his wife had different ideas about their future together. While he hoped for a fresh start and a stronger bond, she seemed to have other plans that didn't align with his expectations, leading to more complications in their relationship.
Потому что в России...
When we arrived in Kenya, we purchased 2 large plots of land in Ishiara and began farming. We bought 500 chickens, 20 pigs, and 20 goats. I felt secure because I had left my previous job to start this business. However, things began to deteriorate quickly after our initial setup. We also bought a large plot of 100 square meters where we built a big house. When I saw all the losses we were accumulating, I started to blame myself intensely. I regretted many decisions I had made, but I knew they were influenced by my love for my wife. Eventually, our situation worsened as my wife started to act negatively towards me again. Her behavior became so difficult that I felt desperate and even considered taking my own life several times. I suggested that we should move away from Ishiara, but she refused because she wanted to stay close to her mother. It turned out that everything we had set up was strategically placed near her mother's home, as if she had planned it that way from the start. Life became very difficult because they were constantly fighting and arguing. During this tough time, the man decided to leave on his own. However, on the day he planned to leave, the woman did something unexpected.
Грязная и несчастная. У нее не было...
I reached a point where I couldn't tolerate the situation anymore because it felt like one of us might end up seriously hurting the other. During one of our conflicts, I tried to leave, but my wife attacked me with a knife. After the incident, she was arrested by the police. However, I went to the police station and asked them to release her, hoping we could still reconcile. Despite my patience, our relationship did not improve, and eventually, we decided to separate. We owned 2 cars. One was a large truck capable of carrying 5 tons, and the other was smaller. My wife chose to take the smaller car, and I was left with the house. This left me deeply depressed, and I started drinking heavily, almost losing my sanity. During this low point, my wife returned to the house, changed the locks, and took it from me, leaving me in a worse state. After his wife took everything from him, the man ended up living in extreme poverty. He was left with no clothes and living in this dirty place without access to food, water, or proper shelter. It's hard to believe that he lives in such conditions where he only eats uncooked tomatoes, onions, and garlic. To survive, he tries to work on construction sites, but he's even too weak to push a wheelbarrow. Fortunately, he managed to stop his heavy drinking, which was a significant issue for him. However, he still has a long way to go in improving his situation. He has many needs that go beyond what he can provide for himself at the moment, making his recovery and rebuilding a challenging process.
Дамы и господа, у меня сейчас очень тяжело.
Because we have another child together, I didn't want to make life harder for my wife after she took everything. I hoped they would have a good life. However, I'm currently living in very difficult conditions. I don't have food or clothes, but I've made the decision to stop drinking alcohol, which was making things worse. I'm now asking for help to find ways to get food and clothing and try to rebuild my life. And after all, I want to ask my wife to leave me and stay away from me. I only want to see my children. Meeting her is something I don't want because she is hostile towards me and tries to hurt me every time we meet. If you want to help this man, you can do so by clicking the Giving Life link in the video description or the pinned comment below. Your contributions can make a significant difference in helping Alexander restore stability and peace in his life. From his story, life is like a journey, often filled with storms instead of calm waters. Let's learn to avoid making decisions driven by our emotions and understand that anyone can let us down. This includes not just strangers or distant acquaintances, but also those who once promised to love us forever. Thank you for watching. I am Simon Greenwood, and this is Afrimax English. Please remember to subscribe.